Thank you, everybody, for coming in. I'm Kaladia Cheney, and this is Debra Stanford in Chicago. We're first cousins. We were here a couple of weeks ago, and we're back for more. Today, we're going to be talking about overcoming to become, right? And a lot of what we're doing is practicing. We're trying to get ourselves. First of all, we're promoting our books. And then the second thing is we're trying to become more comfortable with conversations as authors, as published authors. We're specifically our self-published authors, but we're becoming more comfortable with having an audience, sharing information, sharing about our books, this kind of thing, being acquainted with how to do these things within the publishing or within the authorship writer industry, right? That's what we're here for. And so we thank you guys. Yes, to increase our faith.
Yeah, and also, I was going to say, and also increase faith, because sometimes when we see someone else doing, it increases our faith because we know that our connection is really of God, even how that we published our books within weeks of one another and didn't even know that we were being published on Amazon.com. So it's like walking in the will of God.
So we're encouraging each other. We're wanting to encourage other people that you can do these things, and you know that you have specific talents and gifts that God has given you. And a lot of times we hold back because I know for me it was years before I ever actually got up and shared a poem, any of my poetry in front of an audience, much less press the button.
Yeah, and I was surprised to learn that about you because I knew that you were a poet, and at the same time, I was sharing my poetry years ago, but I stopped after I started working on my doctorate.
Yeah, we got more people coming in. Hey, everybody, I'm going to do some haze here. Thank you all for coming, for joining us. One of the things I want to share too is like why become an author? Why start writing books? And so for me, I know it was a childhood thing. I journaled, I wrote poetry. I wrote short stories, and when you get into school and they start having you write informative writing, I enjoyed the informative writing. I liked finding out the facts and putting it in the paper, and I found out that I liked the rhythm and the sway of how words and the patterns in writing moved me, and especially if it was a good voice in it, I was like, yes, this is good. So I loved reading. And my sister never can attest, she was always reading a book. I've got books all over my house now. I enjoy reading. I enjoy learning. I consider myself a lifelong learner. And I just appreciate that. And I feel like God has given me the empowerment to be a wealth, wisdom and knowledge and carrier of information, and to help get things explained and just bring understanding. And so he's given me the gift to do that with writing. And so I write. That's why I write. I love it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, 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 and I think it's amazing how we were so much alike, even though we didn't meet one another until I was like about ready to graduate from college, and you were still in school, high school, or yeah, probably high school. But I had the same aspirations. I love words. I found myself writing lots of poetry, and I even wrote a couple of novels. And at one point, I was saying that I wanted to become a freelance writer. And even though I was young, I really didn't understand, what that really meant. It kind of like, okay, I kind of like felt like I want to be able to write the way that I want to write. I don't want anyone to tell me how to write. I want to do it my way. But that dream kind of like left me as I got married, had kids, like.
Hey, do me a favor, check and see if your volume's down low. Make sure it's maxed up.
Before I knew it,
it's hard. I'm having a trouble time hearing you. And then what we'll do is after we finish saying something, we'll pause a little bit because I got a note saying, hey, you guys are talking at the same time. So we'll make sure that we're pausing, and then the other person starts a few minutes afterwards. Okay. Okay, so today we're talking about our journey, really, that journey to just overcome, and become what it is that you're designed and been given by God to become, right? And for us, part of that is not just always one thing, but part of that for us is being self-published authors, being authors. And we're inviting you all along on our journey. And we're excited about it. We thank you. And like I put on the post, it's a different story when you have family and friends supporting you and going along with you on that journey. And so we want to say thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate for all the books that you bought, all the support, all the shout outs, all the love. We just wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Talking about overcoming. Deborah, did you want to start out first, or do you want me to get started first? Okay. So one of the things I talked about with becoming, or that I've realized, is that you have to empty out. In order to become, you have to empty out of all the perceptives you already have, or preconceived notions that you have. You have to empty out of your fears. Oh my gosh. You have to empty out of your fears, the different mindsets. In religious talk, it's spiritual strongholds. You know, we've got to just empty out of those things. And a lot of that for me was even saying, God, help me to empty out. Help me to let go of those things that I'm thinking that's holding me back, because our thought life can actually hold us back. I remember when I first published An Even Balance, and Israel said, I sat there, I had typed it all up, it was all good to go, you know, checked everything. And this was in 2016. And Israel said, Mom, just hit the publish button, hit the button. What are you waiting on? And I said, are you sure? And he's like, yes. And it was like September 9th. It was a Friday night, I think it was. And I pressed that button and it was like, it's gone. I can't take it back. But I was afraid. I was fearing something that wasn't even there, you know? So a lot of that emptying out is that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that I had to, yeah, and I had a similar experience where I had written my book a year ago, and I did not press the button because of fear and because of me looking at myself and thinking, you know, you don't want to share this with the world, you know. But you know, as I kept seeking God, God just let me know, you know, stop looking at you and do what I told you that you're supposed to do. It took over a year for me to do it, but finally I did it, and I'm finding that it's bringing so much joy, you know, even having this connection and talking with you. One of the things that I would like to share, if it's okay, was one of the poems that I have about being able to go beyond yourself, being able to change, right? The poem that I want to share is called Scales. It reads, Scales. These scales of worldly entrapments must come down. I must shed my physical existence to allow the true and spiritual part of me to come alive. These scales have hidden me and tied me down to focus on the non-essential rather than that which is significant. I shall not wait until the natural metamorphosis takes place, but I must accelerate the change and peel off these hard, stained scales.
No, go ahead.
To promote beauty from within. So, go ahead, Kaladia. So this was my way of expressing how that I had to stop thinking about me, about Deborah, but about what God wanted me to be. You know, shedding off old thoughts, you know, changing my pattern of thinking in order to be in the will of what God wanted me to be. So peeling off those scales and shedding off my physical existence so that something inside of me can come out.
Good, because that's that once we can empty out, then and it's not so much that what's the gift and the talents and the things that God has put, they're in us, but it's like they're being suppressed by all of those things, you know, almost like being held hostage. And it's like once you start pushing past them or saying, you know what, I see you, but I'm still going for it. And you realize they're not going, oh, you're not, so you were just there, mirage, right? You know, and you start realizing that they're not there, they're not going to hurt you. And you keep moving, you start feeling freer So it's that standing fast, like in the liberty where Christ has set us free. So I feel like I'm walking into that. You know what I mean? I'm walking into that freedom that he said that we could have.
Yeah, exactly. And we had been programmed that, you know, as children, that we would need to work a 9 to 5 job. And so in working a 9 to 5 job, you know, when we grow up, you know, after 5 o'clock, we kind of like think that we need to shut down. You know, it's like we're too tired to do something else, or we need to just spend our time watching TV, or just doing something that wasn't really important. But yeah, but because we work those hours, you know, forget about being creative. Forget about doing those things that you enjoyed doing as a child. And I think that many times God speaks to children to let them know, you know, which way he wants them to go. But because of fear, because of rejection, you know, because, you know, something that someone said hurt you, you know, we don't have that confidence anymore. And that's one of the gifts that Michelle Obama, which Kaladia encouraged me to read this book about a year ago, that she talked about, you know, like having that fear, or having someone to say, you can't do that. And one example of that is when she was playing the piano, and how that she started practicing and going beyond what her teacher, her mentor, wanted her to do. But yet she was being like aggressive in the gift that God had given her. And she just kept that stubbornness about herself and ended up becoming a very good pianist. But had she listened to Robbie, you know, who was her piano teacher, you know, she would have just went along with whatever her teacher put before her, but she went beyond that. And I can think of myself of how that when I had an English class, I would write in the back of my composition book poems, and my English teacher would read the poems, and she said, "This is what a real writer does." You know, I would write poems that she didn't assign me to write. So, you know, it's like going beyond what's expected.
Most definitely.
To
Definitely.
tap into
Another thing about becoming, because I was like, I'm glad you did read the book. we talked a little bit about how we connected with, especially like her early childhood time, and another thing about so they keep saying that I'm talking when you're talking, but even now I've started pausing, so I don't know, maybe there's a delay, so we might want to just delay a little bit longer, because I literally waited until she was finished and started talking. So I'm not sure what's happening. I've gotten 3 messages that like, you're talking. When you're talking, I'm talking. I'm like, okay, but she stopped talking. So so we're getting a delay. So we'll pause a little bit longer. It'll look like we're just sitting here, but we're actually just pausing everybody to stop the overlapping of conversation, okay? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to share a poem that I wrote called I Belong. And so for me, it was something as far as with overcoming that whole just trying to realize or accept the fact, babe, I'm on the thing, trying to get to that point where I realize that it's okay for me to be here. It's okay for me to be here, you know? And so, and just identifying, I think a lot of our problems with becoming is that we don't know our identity. And so for me, the identity thing is a poem I wrote, I Belong Here. And actually, hold on, babe, I can hear you. Thank you so much, sweetheart. He's trying to talk to her, trying to talk about this, and it's like, Okay, so we were at church, and they were singing a song about Here I Am, and so different things started coming up, and just realizing that it's okay, I do belong here. I'm not just, you know, some mistake in the world. So becoming has to do a lot with identity. So I wrote this poem called I Belong. I belong here. I belong to humanity, a member of life's society, to be a part of his story. I belong to the Negroid race, the first to grace this earthly place, the beginning of every color and creed, a hidden reminder in every face. I belong to the female gender, to rule alongside men. Yes, please remember, bone of your bone and flesh of your flesh, to assist you, help you in your God-given quest. I belong to my family line. To each other, we've been divinely assigned to learn, to love, and grow through life's lessons, being blessed by one another and being a blessing. I belong to the body of Christ, to run my race with all my might, not looking back in regret nor shame, pressing toward the high calling in Jesus' name. And for me, doing those things or these gifts and things that God has placed in me, pressing in that, a part of that is intertwined with becoming all that he's called me to be or designed me to be or planned for me to be. Dr. Miles Monroe said something that just has stuck in my spirit. He said, God has a plan for you, but he will not plan for you. So that means I have a part to play. And even today, Pastor Mike was talking at church and he was like saying, it's for you. He was going over the if then, the law. I call it the law of if then. If you do this, then God will do that. So it's a lot of those laws in the Bible that we need to understand. And if you do your part, I'll do my part. And I had to get to that understanding that I have to do the work. I have to do the work of walking that plan out.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. And so many times the enemy will try to make us think that we're in this all by ourselves when actually we have so many different support systems. And sometimes we just need to reach out to one another, instead of waiting for someone to call us or text us or respond to our Facebook messages. We need to respond. We need to give. And then, because the Bible says if we give, it will be given unto us, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, men given to our bosoms. So that spirit of isolation is something that God doesn't want us to experience. And to know that, you do have people who love you, and that sometimes our preconceptions and our ideas about people and situations is what hinder us from really developing rich relationships that God wants us to have. Like Kaladia and I, we've got a really rich relationship. And to me, it's just so remarkable because sometimes for years we wouldn't even talk to each other. I mean, or even write to one another, but then we would, we would send letters and pictures. Yeah. And I mean, we were able to still be in the vein of knowing one another. And
I feel like a lot of it has to do with we feel like we're going to be rejected or that we won't be accepted. That's been a part of my challenge, to try to feel like, okay, they're not going to accept me. I'm a little different. And I think what everybody is saying the same thing. Okay, it's still happening. Hold on for a minute. Joseph, she stopped talking. So how long do I need to stop? Because she stopped talking. Okay, so it's happening really bad, this delay. Apparently this delay is happening really bad.
Look at this.
You stopped talking, but they were still. So I'm gonna have the phone here so we can kind of give us. So we'll see, and we'll. They're having a. Okay, so, all right. Let me turn it down some. There's a delay. We apologize. We're trying this messenger room.
Okay.
The Facebook Live was had a messenger room, and so we're trying it that way so that we can see the responses and everything. But apparently, it's a bigger lag than when you're in the Zoom. Okay, so I'll leave that right there, and then I can keep up with what's happening. Okay, so but yeah, just that feeling of of wanting to be accepted, or just being okay with just having to come to that point where you make peace with yourself. Becoming has a lot to do with that, or at least for me, and being okay with who you are. One of the other things that I know is that that whole idea of being afraid to shine your light. You want to talk about that a little bit? I got a poem I'm going to read too about where is the light, but being okay with sharing your light, sharing the light of who you are.
Yeah. Um, Sharing the light of who you are and knowing that sometimes you're going to have challenges where everyone won't like you. And sometimes you may even feel bullied. And that reminds me of a portion of what's in Michelle Obama's book about how that she was actually bullied, as a young girl, and uh, and how she had to stand up to the young lady, to the girl who was bullying her, and she had to fight her. But after that fight, she never had to fight again. After they saw that she would fight, they realized that they couldn't just pick on her. And had she not fought, then she would have been one that would be always the one that everyone would think that they could talk about, and she would go home crying, and it just could have altered the trajectory of her life, because she would have not felt that she was worthy to be a part of a social setting.
The delay is almost like 30 seconds, literally. The, so so when we're talking, we almost have to wait 30 seconds before we can start talking again, because you were like, that's what I was waiting on, looking at the thing to see when you're going to stop. Yes, and that's the thing. I get confused, and I don't want to go down that rabbit trail, but when they tell kids not to fight back in school, I'm like, I don't know. That's a hard pill to swallow. I'm not gonna let my kids just get beat up, because it does something to your self-esteem. It does something to them. And I even remember my kids were on the bus. They were in middle school, and they had been in a fight. And I remember my oldest daughter, she didn't want to go back to, she didn't want to ride the bus anymore. I started taking them to school, and I think through the end of the year, because it would happen that last quarter, but it did something to her by not choosing not to fight back. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think we should teach that. I'm not saying I've got the answer, but for my kids, it was don't let anybody beat you up, and just stand there and take it, because that's what the enemy does to us too. He bullies us, he fights us, and he makes us afraid to be who we are. So we're always hiding, or we're always cowering down, and not necessarily, showing up as who we are. So I'm going to go ahead and read the poem, Where is the Light? And this one happens to be in both of the books. So where is the light? In the midst of the darkness, there is a deep knowing that somewhere there's a light to show us the path through this journey. It causes life to have purpose in doing or being, and so we must seek to find that kindle of fire, for it is within us. And as we venture onward through the winding roads it takes us by, remember to pass the keys to its release into the lives of others, that it may forever be present among us. For surely it was the light that birthed each one of us here, and that same light has helped us to remain.
Yes. There is a light. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. That's one of my favorite ones. I want to share one here about stretching, because in order for us to really reach the light, we got to stretch beyond who we are, stretch beyond, what we think life should be. Um, it's called stretching. I'm stretching, and I actually put spaces in between each of the letters of stretching. Stretching beyond my natural limitations, growing further than what mind and body assume, stepping forward when initially I stopped, doing what I thought of finally, reaching for what I knew was there but felt was too high to accomplish, replacing wasted energy with something worthwhile, extending my former self into someone else, making my life meaningful to the point of unique, meeting a challenge with will and courage.
That was good. That was good. Listen, when I tell you this is gonna be, we are so growing that it's not even funny. That was really good. We're having to wait a good 30 seconds before we can actually comment or respond to each other, because I'm looking at this and seeing the lag. So we kept hearing it. I said, well, I waited a few seconds, but we realized we've got to wait a good 30 seconds. And I know I've said that before, but it's really funny on our end because we're sitting here looking at each other and I'm pointing to her saying, okay, go. Okay, I'm going to read just a little bit from chapter 8 of An Even Balance, okay, about know thyself. And I think a lot of times and this is nothing against or away from, what we've learned, because it is important that we get to know God. And it's also important that you get to know you. And even where it says love God and love your neighbor as yourself, that as yourself means that you got to love you first, or you're not going to be able to love people the way that Christ wants you to love. So God wants us to take care of ourselves, and he wants us to have a level of balance. And so it's important. A lot of times that just gets overlooked. And I'm not suggesting that always. I think that we're coming into that knowledge or understanding of, hey, we got to put that other step back in there. And so I wrote in chapter 8, know thyself. I enjoy designing beautiful and comfortable spaces, balancing natural with necessity, creating efficiency with ecstasy, living in an environment that expresses peace both within and without is a model by which I live and strive to maintain, even by choosing the places I visit or not, the activities I engage in, and even the people I relate to. Organization is essential in these life-filled arrangements and settings that speak to my spirit, captivate the attention of my soul, and diffuse stress from my body, all while demanding harmony with the natural world in which I inhabit. It is constantly triggering awareness everywhere my eyes gaze, guiding me to focus on the fullness of which the serenity of the atmosphere brings. Within the flow of this harmonious union, peace is birthed and nurtured, continuously replenishing my very being. How do I evolve to perpetually live in this state of existence? By making choices aligned with who I am from within. This is not always easy, and then I go into this whole other thing. And so when you know who you are, you know what boundaries you need to set. And boundaries, especially within family, can be challenging sometimes, but yet we have to do that. We have to love ourselves enough to make healthy boundaries for ourselves in every space that we have exist in. And what I mean by that is in every relationship that we're having, we need healthy boundaries. And a lot of times that's not so easy to stand up and say because of the fear of the rejection, the fear of the, being set aside and different things like that. So we try to become these yes people, and it's like, but God hasn't called us to that. And so we don't want to lose relationship. And so we say yes. And so just learning how to become has a lot to do with building those healthy boundaries, knowing who you are, knowing your limitations and not just your strengths. It's important to know your limitations and your weaknesses as well, and to confront them. I saw a post the other day, when you don't confront it, you can't fix it, or something to that effect. It's so very true. We've got to be able to be courageous enough to confront those things that we know that are on our hearts from within, deal with it from within, and then if it has to do with another person, deal with them, because those things stop us from becoming. This is challenging. I think it just went off. Did it just go off? I didn't have it set for a certain time. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, that's right. Being able to meet the challenges. And that also means preparing ourselves to the best of our abilities. And that reminds me of one of the poems that I wrote called Marathon Before the Masterpiece. It goes, preparation time. change of everyday attire to that of complete comfort, cotton and spandex. Exercise gear is placed from head to toe. Some Nike, some Reebok, some Champion, some headband, wristband, Fruit of the Loom, and jockey underwear. Stretching is highly recommended prior to the race to loosen muscles that have aged and tighten with time. Stretch again with yoga and Pilates. On your mark, get ready. Suddenly, the sound of the bullets break the air. Off you go. With confidence, you appear qualified to win. A huffing, a puffing, a pushing forward, define your being. Beating against the atmosphere and define self. You finally approach the finish line, number one. Cheers, disappointments, and surprises fill the air. Regardless
that was, say the title again.
And projections, no one can refute that you have now become
before the masterpiece. Oh, okay.
Marathon before the masterpiece. We got to run that marathon. We got to prepare ourselves. We got to put on the right gear before we can be the best that
I like that. That was good. So I'm going to read another one. I wrote one about a masterpiece, but I'm going to read, I hope I'm not overlapping you. I think I am. I thought we were finished.
Thank you.
Okay. This is crazy. All right, louder than words. Thank you all for your patience. We really appreciate it. So we got to put in that, we got to run that marathon. Louder than words. Joy springs forth in anticipation of a new dawning day to the man whose life carries meaning. The dread to live drags others from their beds with each passing moment of time. Better to influence the world around you, enhancing the very life you live, than to converse with misery at the breakfast table as you sip the coffee of death. Don't sip the coffee of death. Okay. Connect to your desires as you search deep within your heart and speak the words of your destiny. Apply yourself in all that you set out to do, for actions speak louder than words. And they do. They manifest what's going to happen. They help us to propel and to become, right? To do that marathon, because during that marathon, you're going to have to be putting in some action, and you're going to have to keep encouraging yourself. But your actions are going to be the thing that gets you to the destination that you're trying to go to. So you got to put feet to those words.
And that's right. And also, to know that.
Okay. Go ahead.
To know that we do have influence within our homes. You said something about going outside and doing something, changing the world on the outside. But what about the world inside of your life? Communicating with your loved ones about, your concerns for them, and allowing them to communicate to you. Because sometimes, as parents, we really don't, we want our kids to go in a certain direction. And when we see that they're going in another direction, we kind of like want to overtalk them, because we want to steer them to what we think that they should have. And in these type of cases, that's when our kids just shut down, where they don't want to talk to us about anything, because they know that we're going to change the conversation. We're going to change it in a way that they don't want it to go. So being able to understand, who is in your house, and to love regardless of decisions that your children may make or your spouse may make, but to still be able to love, instead of thinking that you can reach out into the world and change the world, where within, you know, there's some issues that need to be addressed.
That is very powerful, because becoming, to me, means more than just me showing up, but me showing up for others to show up as who they are, and to let them be who they are. Let them be and become what it is they need to become. And so it's like, I'm not trying to change them to accommodate me. I'm changing me to accommodate me and what's in me and what God has given me. And a lot of times when we do that, it actually lets our light shine. And then other people say, well, wow, they call it authentic. Oh, she's very authentic. Or, oh, they're very, they're themselves. I like that, who they are. There's something about them. They're walking this confidence. And so a lot of times they want to know, what is that you're carrying around? And it opens up a door. So just becoming helps to open up the door for other people to say, hey, I want to know more about how are you able to be like that and walk in that freedom, walk in that liberty, so I can get it too. So it's like, so I'm indirectly influencing them. I might see it. Of course, I'm going to pray for them. I'm going to believe God for them. If they ask for wisdom or information, help, I'm going to say something that try to encourage them, but not to be, I've learned that I'm overbearing. So with my kids, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to always be overbearing. So I'm walking in a balance, because they're older now. So they're having, they're walking into different stages of their life. They're 19 through 31. And so them walking in that different stage means they don't need, mother hen checking back at them every few seconds. And it is really cool, because I've seen it where now, they check in with me. Hey, mom, just want to check in with you. Want to see how you're doing. Hey, mom. And even them seeing me come, they really like to see mom is fulfilling her purpose. Mom is walking in her truth. Mom is experiencing her authenticity. And it's like they're being encouraged to do it for themselves as well. So becoming and overcoming those things, a lot of times just be you, and then allow other people to find that or see that in you, and then they'll start wanting it. I know a lot of people that are very authentic, and it's powerful. And I'm like, I want that. I want to arrive. I want to show up as who I am. I want to overcome these things that are hindering me, these thoughts, these thought patterns, these fears that are saying, oh, no, no, no. And I just appreciate people when they are being authentic, when they are being upfront or truthful, or just showing up as themselves. So I'm going to read, and I've read it before, but I'm going to read the Let Me Be Me poem, because again, it's not about just like saying, leave me alone. It's like, let me, be who God has created me to be. And yeah, it's got a little stuff in there to shake you and wake you up, but it's okay. It doesn't hurt, I promise. Have you ever wondered why people are fake? Why they alter their appearance and hide their mistakes? Why they tell you one thing, yet their promises they break? Do you notice the pretentious smiles on their faces, their callous of pain leaking out bleeding traces? Why they keep their distance or hold on in desperation? Have you noticed their sighs and tears in the moment when confronted, make excuses, but will never own it, all in effort to pull the blanket over your eyes, tell you anything to convince you that the truth is a lie? They will go the distance over mountains and seas to be accepted as members of the human species, to be a part, counted in, have their name on the roll, to be valued, to be affirmed, to be loved, to belong. If you could but for once glimpse inside them, you'd see deep within themselves they are longing to be free. Behind the facade, they're crying this one plea: I could live the life of a lifetime if I could only be me. And that's them having to overcome themselves. And then a lot of times they're trying to overcome other stuff that they are worried about, that they should be worried about from outside. And I'm not putting it on other people on the outside. It's them holding themselves back, and I had to declare to myself, let me be like God said, let there be light. It's like, no, Kalei, be you, be who you are. Let me be me. That's very powerful. It's commanding. So I had to command myself to arrive, to show up, to be okay with who I am.
And yes, I think it's so important to be the person who you are. And that was one of the reasons why I enjoyed Michelle Obama's book so much. Not because it was so popular, because like I said, I would not have read this book had Kaladia not encouraged me to read it. But in this book, she shows who she was, and she talks about even how that she and Barack Obama had problems in their marriage. They had to get counseling. So she didn't try to sugarcoat the truth.
Yeah.
And it's like I received a greater appreciation. I got to know more about who she was because she was herself. And she talked about how before she could just say anything that she wanted to say on TV, but then after a while she got in trouble. And most of us know about the point that happened at. But anyway, she wanted to be herself, and she shows that she was herself, even though it was friction in her marriage. She didn't just say, okay, well, I want to keep this guy, so I'm just gonna just pretend that everything is okay. She said, no, everything is not okay, Barack. We need some counseling. So to be her, she's an example of someone who shows that she was her. And Kaladia, and just knowing it's like I know that you're that type of woman. It's like you're you, and I love you for being you.
Yes, and I literally had to fight myself to do that. She just didn't arrive, and time and experience causes things to happen, and we hide or we go run for cover. But I had to fight because the Spirit of God in me would not let me just stay there. I always think about the talents, the different talents, the 1 talent, 2 talent, 5 talent servants. And I'm like, God, I don't want to be that 1 talent servant that takes what you've given and hide. And I literally have more than one. Like I'm going to be in real trouble if I don't start going back and doubling this stuff. So that was it was me just really wrestling with myself, to empty out so that God could let me rise up, that which was in me, that he put in me to rise up and come forth. And like poetry is new to me. I've been writing poetry since I was little. I can't even remember. I wrote so many poems as a child. I had a poetry book. I had over 75 poems in it where they just come and I'd write and write, and I kept it in a little binder, put a table of contents on it and everything. So I've been writing a long time as far as poetry. And I remember my brother and sister, they would have, Mom, listen. I'd read the poem. You should get her, see if she can write for Hallmark. And I'm like, wait, cool, that's crazy. But and even then I didn't really realize it. I didn't really realize what they were hearing, because for me it was just, well, these are just my thoughts, but it was coming out as more than just that. And so I had to come to that realization. And that's why I wrote that book about the collection is The Habit of Writing, but it was actually a poem that I wrote, and it's in the front of the book. It's called The Habit of Writing, and it's a little short poem, but it's nice. Oftentimes, it's called The Habit of Writing. Oftentimes, I find myself in the habit of writing, looking for something pleasant, unique, adventurous, and exciting. Writing about my life, my feelings, questions, things that are good, addressing God the Father, and building a relationship with him as we all should. Knowing that this gift is to be exercised with great care to bless the lives of people everywhere. And that's from the title of the book. We'll get ready. We'll do one more. You can do one more, and then we'll talk about it's 6:57.
That is.
Wait.
All right. Get into the habit of things,
Okay.
right?
Okay, go ahead.
getting into the habit of writing, getting into the habit of your gift, whatever your gift is. Many of us know what our gifts are, and like I said, if you think about what you like to do when you were a child, many times that's your gift. Some of us can draw, some of us can paint,
Okay.
some of us can play the piano. A lot of stuff we just gave up. So I want to share one last point, Wings from the West Side Part 2, and it's basically about the wings. And our wings took us places, like the feathers of a peacock whose beauty is hidden until it is aware of its onlookers. We spread our wings to display such magnificence that we can fly in all types of atmospheres. Our hues were formed as we engaged our minds in areas beyond our sight. At first, we discovered states, and then geography took us to countries. We engaged in virtual reality before the term ever surfaced. At first, it looked like we were on the same plane as our neighbors, but slowly we excel, we propel, and then we gain momentum. While they cannot see us anymore, those from the other corners of the world do. I'm going to stop right there. But basically showing how that this poem basically shows that we engaged our minds. We started thinking about stuff that was presented to us that was not even presented to us. We went beyond what the teacher was saying in the classroom, and we develop our gifts and talents.
It's
And
showing that you're still reading the poem, so I gotta wait.
To be able to do what we're doing today.
Showing that you're still reading the poem, so I gotta wait. Okay, so this has been really interesting. This was new because we did it a different way this time, and that was really good. I loved when you said about we gain momentum, because I've noticed that when I started stepping out and just go ahead and publishing the other book, and then doing when we did the virtual book launch together, that was so cool. Like we told this story before, but it was cool because I was thinking about it after my niece Norma Jones, Norma Pruitt, Taquandra Jones did her book launch, which was a couple of like the week before. We did ours March 28th. She did hers like the week before on a Friday or Wednesday, and it's Summer Fun is her book. So that's going to be coming out soon. I'm sure she's going to be putting some more things out. That's Norma Pruitt. I'm pretty sure that she has it under her actual name, but it's called Summer Fun. Shout out to Norma if you're out there. Love you, girl. But she did hers, and I knew that it took courage to do it. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And I was thinking about it, and I started making a flyer. And then I said that night, oh, maybe I should ask Debra if she wants to do this together. You know, like who's ever heard of two authors doing a book launch together? I had never heard of it, never seen it. And the next day she texted me, and I was like, okay, I'll hold off. I will you know, text her. I'll text her later. And I look at my phone about 12 o'clock that day, and it was like, oh my gosh, like she's like, so cousin, how are you, you know, presenting your book? And I was like, do you want to do a book launch together? I'm like, yes. So that was really cool how that happened. So God has definitely got a vein working for us. We're going to go ahead and close out now, but we want to share a couple of quick things with you all. I see people are starting to drop off. I guess they feel like it's the end, but Debra, tell them about your book launch that's coming up. I mean, your book signing that's coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a book signing event on this Saturday, April the 24th.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a book signing event on this Saturday, April the 24th. It starts at 1 o'clock and it ends at 4. We're going to have live entertainment from 1 until 2 o'clock. We're going to have refreshments. It's going to be a really, really nice atmosphere. We're going to have singing. I asked a young lady to do a song for me, and she said she's going to make up some lyrics to Wings from the West Side. So I was really excited to hear that. So yeah, we're going to have a wonderful time. And anyone who would like to come, you want to reserve your space because we just have so much space. You can send me a text or email or through my website or something just to let me know. But this is going to be a wonderful, momentous occasion. And people are going to be blessed. So thank you for sharing your time with us today. And Kaladia, you wanted to make another announcement? But this is going to be a wonderful and people are going to be blessed. Thank you for sharing your time. Kaladia, you wanted to make
Yes. So, okay. So I've been working. I'm getting a lot of creative ideas and stuff. And I have Mother's Day cards that I created. And inside of it, it has my poem. I've had like 6 different designs. Okay. So I've been working for Mother's Day. And I'm going to have it available on my website, or either right now you can DM me. I just picked them up today. I got a lot of them done. And so these are ones I created. My poem that I wrote for my mom is in here. It was really cool because she actually got to hear this poem. I also shared it at her funeral. But this is a poem for those that might have been there. And this is another design that I have. And on the inside, the poem is there. And they're written in such a way, all of them except for 2 of them are written in such a way that you can actually give them to an aunt, a grandmother. You can give them to a close, friend who's been to a mom to you, anybody that you would like to, like I said, except for the one that says, "Love you, Mom." But here's another of the card. And I created these. I have the price and the information and all that on there. I'm gonna do different bundles and stuff. The individual prices will be like $8 per card, and then if you do bundles, it'll be different. So here it is. I'm just trying to show them all to you. Here's another one, and I guess I'll read the poem that's in there. That'll be the last one, and the back of it. And they'll come with the envelope as well. Each one will come with the envelope. Here's one more. Oh, that was the last one. This is the same thing, but it's just a different, the color, the ink color on the inside of this one is a darker color. And then I did one also for Teacher Appreciation Week, which is May 3rd through the 7th, that Monday through Friday. And then there's a poem that I wrote called "The Teacher" in it. So those will be available for sale. And let me just read the poem about the mother in there so you'll see what it says. It says, the title is "My Mother." Your elegant dress and poise, in hand, prudence and finesse. Your strides flow with such grace that tell of your pleasant meekness. Your sweet and simple kisses, a warm and gentle embrace. Your quite delightful laughter, the smile upon your face. Tell of the goodness of Jesus and how he loves you so. His many blessings and peace adorned with a heavenly glow. These things I speak from the heart. The message to me is quite clear. He called you to be my mother, to express his love so dear. And that's inside of all of the poem, all of the different cards, okay? So I'll make sure I have that information. I'm gonna probably do some other things to put out to just kind of remind people and samples. Right now, nothing is up on my website, but I am getting that up. Mother's Day is May 9th, so I will have these available. And then Teacher Appreciation Week is May 3rd through the 7th. And I designed these. I wrote the poem and everything. So I hope that you all will, if you want some, hope you patronize me, get you a bundle and give them out to different ladies in your life that you know would enjoy a nice poem in there. Thank you so much for joining us. We've hit another learning curve in the messenger room. If you do messenger room, there's 30-second delay, so it's been interesting, but we appreciate your attention and your attentiveness. We appreciate your time. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to have any questions? Oh, wow, okay. Okay, so I don't see any questions. If you do have questions, we do have our websites. They're also, I think, pinned in. You'll see them on our pages. If you want to look at, my page, I know I have my links to Amazon.com. The books are $12.99 paperback, and then $9.99 if you get a Kindle. And then Debra's book is also on Amazon. It's $20.99 paperback and $9.99 on the Kindle. So get your copies today. Thank you so much. Goodbye.